Philippine Airlines, the Filipino flag carrier, is an airline which has a wide variety of cabin products, some great and some pretty terrible. Today, I fly on the latter. Join me as we take a look at what was one of my most uncomfortable flight experiences to date. Hello everybody and welcome back to another trip report. Today I'm here at Manila's Ninoy Aquino International Airport, or NAIA. I'm here at, I think, Terminal 1, maybe Terminal 2, and today I'm going to be flying Philippine Airlines on board an Airbus A330-300, I believe, from here in Manila back home to Melbourne in Australia. Okay, so I just arrived off a Philippine Airlines A321, just like that one. The trip report should already be out. I don't think it's going to be a very comfortable flight. I'll explain to you more about that a bit later. But for now, let's somehow go through the transfer security or whatever, because I'm under the impression that we have to identify our bags before we can go through to the gates. I've heard that it can be a bit of a nightmare here at Manila, so let's see. Here's the queue at gate 17. There's 3 different lines sort of, and they're all very long, so I think this is going to take a good minute. I am in the right spot because just here on my, because where I came from Bangkok and I got my boarding pass and stuff there, so I'm checked through, but I need to identify my bag, I think, and I don't know what's going on. Anyway, it says approach the PAL ground staff at gate 17, and I believe this is gate 17, so yeah. Anyway, I guess we'll see what happens. At least there's a flight to New York that a lot of people are about to miss if they don't go now. So at least they're coming around, I think, giving people priority that are on that flight. Okay. Because there's only one scanner, but they've just called Melbourne. 2 minutes ago we were told to wait, and now it's time to go. They just called the New York flight, which is supposed to be in the air in about 10 minutes. Oh, now we go through here. After going through some of the transit security, I proceeded to rant about it for about 2 minutes. To summarise, there was only one scanner for over 100 people, and it wasn't very automated. I had to take my shoes off, which were just runners, and they took my tape measure, which I used for legroom, and some of my family's stuff that hadn't been an issue for the whole trip. It was also just super confusing and crowded. Oh, and the Wi-Fi is close to useless. Anyways, onto some information about Ninoy Aquino International Airport, also known as NAIA. Opened in 1948, it's the busiest in the Philippines and the hub for both Philippine Airlines and Cebu Pacific. The airport sees almost 420 daily departures to 103 airports across 27 countries. Cebu Pacific actually has the most flights from here, followed by PAL. NAIA has 4 terminals. Terminal 4 was the original structure built in 1948 and currently handles regional flights from Cebu, Sunlight Air and Air Swift. Terminal 3 is the newest terminal, having fully opened in 2014, and handles a range of different airlines and is the current hub for Cebu Pacific, not Cebu. I believe Terminal 2, opened in 1999, used to be used solely by PAL, but now handles domestic flights only from PAL, including PAL Express, Philippines Air Asia and Royal Air. Lastly, the terminal we're currently in, Terminal 1, was completed in 1981, making it the second oldest terminal. This terminal currently handles PAL's international flights, which was changed from Terminal 2 in June, as well as a range of other airlines. Please note that airlines seem to change terminals often at NAIA, so please check the terminal used by your airline prior to departure, since this could change. The 4 terminals are in a layout where they aren't close to each other, making changing terminals annoying. Getting to the airport from the city will take about 30 to 40 minutes, despite being only 12 kilometers away because of traffic. There are buses, I believe, and a taxi or Grab will cost around 350 pesos, or about $10. There's also a new Manila airport, also known as Bulacan International Airport, which is being built and is planned to open in 2027, which is located about an hour and a half north of Manila City. Just asked some people that work here where gate 11 is, which is where I believe my plane is, and after looking around for a few seconds, they pointed me in this direction. And it does appear that that's the right way. There wasn't any signage once we got out of the transit area. Anyways, there appear to be a few places, just convenience store type places, and places where you can get something to eat. Now I've got to go through security again, how fun. Now, just been told that we have to go to gate 18 to get our luggage checked. I forgot about that one. Baggage screening area for Australia and New Zealand.
After going down into a broken escalator leading to a tiny little room near the tarmac, everyone had to show their bag receipts. Then they went outside to search for the bag. Can't remember if we had to point to it or not. It was then brought inside where they put it on this little thing. Then they opened it up, checked what was inside of it, scanned it, zipped it up again, and then put it back out on the tarmac. I believe this having to be done has something to do with Australia's biosecurity laws, and possibly this airport not having the equipment to meet the requirements. This wouldn't be so bad if they just had a bigger area, it was more organised, and they had a few more staff. But since there was probably 50 of us down there, it was just so crowded and chaotic. To conclude, this system of having to go down, verify your bags, show your receipt, especially when there's so many people at this time, is just not good. And I would definitely keep this in mind if you're considering transiting here in Terminal 1. Anyways, now that that's out of the way, I went to get just water because I literally had no time to get anything else, and I was a bit worried about missing my flight as it was, so it was time to head to the gate, where I found my plane for today. Our ride to Melbourne will be Romeo Papa, Charlie 8771, a Philippine Airlines Airbus A330-343 equipped with Rolls-Royce engines and is in Philippine Airlines high-density configuration. If you'd like to know a bit more about Philippine Airlines, I highly suggest you check out my Philippine Airlines A321CO review, where I went in depth in the history of Philippine Airlines. So if you'd like to know a bit more about PAL, you can check that out now in return, or watch it at the end of this video. But I will tell you a little bit about their long-haul fleet. Their long-haul fleet consists of 777s, A350s, and A330-300s, like the one we're on today. 4 of PAL's A330-300s are in the high-density configuration, the other 6 are in a pretty comfortable refurbished configuration. Unfortunately, PAL plans to reconfigure 2 of its refurbished A330s to a high-density configuration as well, which isn't ideal. They're also adding a few seats to their A350-900s, and when their A350-1000s arrive, they will be in the more dense 343 configuration.
After I think the third security and passport check, it's now time to board.
A few minutes late, it's now time for boarding, where the staff marked us off from a piece of paper with a pen.
Thank you.
Welcome on board the Philippine Airlines high-density Airbus A330-300. This aircraft is equipped with 18 business class seats in a 222 configuration. There's also 33 economy plus/premium economy seats in a 333 configuration. That's in a mini cabin between business and economy. And then regular economy is also in a 333 configuration with 312 seats. My seat for today will be 42A, on the right side of the aircraft when boarding from the front. By the way, the 333 configuration is something that is seen on A330s, but I don't know of any other full-service airline using the 333 configuration. By the way, those Economy Plus seats cost almost 4,000 Philippine pesos, or about 110 Australian dollars, so they're quite pricey. Keep in mind you do have to pay for regular economy seats, I believe, except for the middle seats. On to seat features, legroom on this aircraft is just not good. It's maybe 30 inches, it felt like a little bit less to me, but for the purposes of this video, I'm going to go with 30 inches since that's what it says online. Keep in mind, I'm only 5'1", and growing. In the seat back pocket, you'll find a safety card and a sick bag, so there's some space for your personal items. Then here you've got a little cup holder, which is on the back of the seat, so if you just want to have your drink out, that's pretty handy. Then here you have a tray table, which you can pull down, pull back, and push in, but you can't fold it. There is no IFE, nor is there a coat hook. But there is an adjustable headrest, which you can adjust the sides and put it up and down. The width is also not good, at about 16.5 inches, a whole 1.5 inches less than the 242 layout. For every 3 seats, there's also 2 universal power sockets. There is streaming entertainment, but I'll explain more about that later. So overall, the seat features, while they have a feature or two that not all low-cost airlines have, PAL isn't a low-cost carrier, so this is just not good. Some low-cost carriers, such as Vietjet, are actually supposed to have more legroom than this.
7 hours 30 minutes, and we will find our cruising altitude of 39,000 feet. Expect fair weather for 12 flight.
After the transit experience, I was very thirsty since the airport was quite warm, so I asked the crew for a cup of water, which they happily gave to me. The crew were friendly, by the way.
Donald Madarang and Second Officer Ken Kutamora. This is your flight purser to unfasten left top of buckle and pull V ends ready. you're with an infant, fasten your seatbelts and wrap your arms around your infant's waist. Your life vests are found under your seats. On water landing, remove sharp objects from your body. Tighten. When outside the aircraft, pull down sharply the inflation cord at the lower end. If life vest fails to
As we push
inflate,
back right on time, it's worth mentioning that there are a few passengers complaining to the cabin crew about the seats not meeting their expectations, and I think also about the transit experience.
batteries immersed in water.
So with the streaming entertainment, the situation was that I do believe it was there and worked for some people, but I wasn't made aware that this was a thing until I saw the sign on the plane, at which point I didn't have any time to download the app. So I was left entertainmentless for the entire flight, but some people did manage to download it in time, and even still, it wasn't working for everyone. I really hope that Philippine Airlines introduced a system where at the very least they have a streaming entertainment system that you can access via your web browser, like a lot of airlines have today. In the left corner you can see a Lufthansa A330 which appears to be in a maintenance hangar.
Crew, prepare for takeoff.
Crew takeoff stations.
After about a 20-minute taxi, it's time for takeoff on runway 24, which is the southwest facing runway. By the way, there's unfortunately no individual air vents. The pillow wasn't great, it was just very scratchy and not the comfiest. As for the blanket, it was fine, pretty unremarkable. Probably the most impressive part about this flight was the fact that after takeoff, the cabin crew gave out amenity kits to those who wanted them. This is something that is not commonly seen in economy class these days. The amenity kit contains an eye shade, a toothbrush and toothpaste, and some socks. Can't really complain about getting any amenity kit in economy class. While the cabin was overall clean, unfortunately it didn't seem to be very well maintained, since the cup holder was completely missing from this seat. The cabin crew appeared with their trolleys about 70 minutes after takeoff, serving children first. For dinner, the options were chicken rice or fish fillet. Tonight's starter was a collared onion noodle salad. I opted for chicken rice. This was served alongside a bread roll, some butter, a towelette, some chocolate for dessert, and there was also some dried mango hiding underneath the butter. I chose orange juice from the wine, soft drinks and juices that were available. Tea and coffee was to follow. The chicken rice was served alongside some carrot and some leafy vegetables, and it was good but nothing to get too excited about. This noodle onion salad wasn't really my sort of thing, but it exceeded my expectations. The bread roll was pretty okay, and the dried mangoes were just fine. The orange juice was fine, but tasted a little bit odd, like the apple juice on my previous flight. I liked that the meal was served on a tray. Overall, the meal is nothing to complain about from Philippine Airlines. The seatbelt sign was switched on due to some turbulence, which didn't last long. There was a spare seat with some of my family, so I decided to move there for the rest of the flight. One of the reasons I moved was because one of my family members on the aisle, their seat recline wasn't working. Every time they put it down, it just went straight back up. And this was the case on a few other seats as well. There's also a metal pole in the middle of some aisle seats which restricts your legroom. Anyways, I settled down into my new seat with a tea and the chocolate. The crew came around with the tea and coffee about half an hour after the meal service, and at about the same time, they also asked everyone to close their window blinds so that everyone could get some sleep, or at least try to. After I'd finished my dessert, I went for a walk around the cabin to check out the Premium Economy / Economy Plus section, and also brush my teeth before trying to get some rest. Welcome to the Philippine Airlines freshly cleaned Airbus A330-300 high-density loo. They just came in and cleaned it, which I think is very nice, and the cabin crew are very nice on today's flight. You've got cologne, hand wash lotion, toilet paper, and there's the toilet. In terms of the size, for a wide body, it's very average. It's not too big, not too small, but I'm in the loo that is in between the economy and, I'm going to call it economy plus cabin, because even though on most seat maps it's premium economy, it's just extra legroom economy. So here we've got the baby change table, mirror, and up here, your coat hook. Anyways, that's about it. Oh, and of course, a lack of cups. Oh no, there is cups, they're just far up. And the waste disposal bin. And of course, you've got paper towel and flight attendant call button. Yeah. So far, the flight's been... It's not great. The meal service was actually pretty good. Based off the cabin crew hanging out back there, don't think that there's any snack bar. Whilst I was trying to get some rest, the seatbelt sign was turned on due to some turbulence. After managing to get about an hour of sleep, I woke up and saw that the cabin crew had started preparations to do the breakfast service. After doing a bit of a walk around to the cabin, I returned to my seat, and by that point the lights had been turned on and we were preparing for breakfast. Breakfast is served. The only option today was a panini with warm cheese, beef and olives. A drink service was to follow. By the way, this was served about 2 hours out of Melbourne. The panini was solid. It tasted almost like some kind of pizza. Not bad, but not exactly what I felt like really for breakfast. The drinks on offer were coffee, tea, juice and water.
Recently, this weather report, we are expecting fair weather at Melbourne with light winds coming from northwest. Got temperature of 90 degrees Celsius. Our arrival time is 5:50 in the morning. The heart of the Filipino.
Biosecurity laws that affect you. You will receive an incoming passenger card that asks questions about what you are bringing to Australia and the places you have visited. We have started our initial approach into Melbourne. Please ensure that your large electronic devices and carry-on baggage are stowed in the overhead bins or under the seats in front of you.
As the sun rises and we approach Melbourne, allow me to conclude today's trip report. I had some issues before the flight, but it would take me a long time to explain, so I've left what I would have said in the description for you to read if you'd like. Anyways, my journey today started in Bangkok, but I'll be concluding in short from landing in Manila. The transit experience was very confusing, not very automated, and just not good at all. As I suspected, once on board there was the high density configuration. The seats felt so cramped, like a low-cost carrier, making it uncomfortable and difficult to sleep. I noticed there are a lot of passengers wriggling around to try and get comfy to sleep. I also hope they fix the broken seats. The amenity kit was a surprising touch, which while basic was much appreciated. The meal service was fine, the food was good but nothing special, and the portion for dinner was good but not particularly good for breakfast, though that was as expected. And finally, the crew were very friendly throughout the flight. Overall, despite being a very cheap option from Southeast Asia to Australia, it was still very disappointing. Customer comfort is really bad on this plane, and in my opinion, seats more cramped than some low-cost carriers, and broken recline and cup holders is something to avoid for an 8-hour flight. For a short-haul flight, considering the price, it would be okay. By the way, it seems that about a third of the time, the Manila to Melbourne route is operated by this high-density A330. Using this plane for an example, the high-density A330s seem to operate mostly 8-hour plus flights, a lot of the time to the Middle East, and a fair few to Melbourne, Sydney and Brisbane. I really wish PAL would just reconfigure a couple more A330s to a lower density configuration, instead of doing the opposite. The only competition on this route is Cebu Pacific, which is commonly under $300 one way without baggage. PAL costs almost $800 one way, or $1,000 return, but is very cheap when starting your journey somewhere in Southeast Asia, which is why I chose to fly them. Qantas actually flies from Manila to Sydney, on an A330 that I saw when taxiing to the runway in Manila. Qantas is slightly cheaper one way and about the same return compared to PAL. Keep in mind there are many cheaper options via other Asian countries, and Cebu Pacific has the most cramped plane in the world. So, as for the best option on this route, if you're flying one way, I think $800 is insane for what you get on PAL, considering the roughly 30% chance of getting this config. So either Cebu Pacific or Qantas, despite the fact that Cebu is the most cramped plane, I believe their crew is very good, it's a day flight, and it's so much cheaper than PAL. Even return, I would honestly suggest you steer clear of PAL between Manila and Australia, since this plane was so uncomfortable, and it's not worth the price. As for the $400 fares from Southeast Asia, it's very cheap, so it's not the worst option, but China Southern offers fares at the same price, and I expect them to be a lot better. I plan to take a flight with them soon, so stay tuned for that. I would like to point out that I believe PAL's A350 is actually quite good, but they mostly operate flights to the US. So I don't think PAL would always be bad, and they have potential. Anyways, that's it for the conclusion of today's trip report. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. For now, enjoy the rest of the approach into Melbourne Tullamarine International Airport.
Mabuhay! Philippine Airlines welcomes you to Melbourne. The local time is 5:48 in the morning. The ground temperature is recorded at 9 degrees Celsius. or 48.2 degrees Fahrenheit. Remain seated with your seatbelt securely fastened until the seatbelt signs have been switched off. Thank you for flying Philippine Airlines.
Cabin crew, doors to disarm.
See ya.
Thanks so much. Bye.
Welcome back to Melbourne. Since I would like to get back home and get some rest since I didn't get much at all last night, I think now's a good time to finish up today's trip report. First of all, I'd like to thank you all for watching today's video. A like and subscription if you enjoyed would be very much appreciated, but it's not necessary nor expected. It just help me out a bit if you enjoyed the video and you wouldn't mind doing so. I also do live updates along with all of my other flights on my Instagram at aviation763_, so you can check that out as well if you want. Also, last but most certainly not least, thank you to all of my incredible Patreons who helped to make these videos possible. The support is so much appreciated, and I couldn't do what I do without them, so thank you so much to them. I'd like to thank you all for watching. I hope you have an amazing day, and I look forward to hopefully seeing you in my next one at Saturday 5 PM Melbourne time.
Mabuhay! Philippine Airlines welcomes you to Melbourne. The local time is 5:48 in the morning.